right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show is a fun one. It's a ridiculous one, guys. We are talking about Renfield with Nicolas Cage as Count Dracula, finally, after all these years that he's wanted to play this role. Uh, but was this the version of Dracula that we all expected of him? I don't know, but it is fun and ridiculous, and we had a great time talking about it. Joining me, we got two guest co-hosts today, Tara Giancaspro and Matt O'Connell. We have a great conversation, lots of really good puzzle pieces. We get in some pretty deep tangents along the way, but we'll see what we get into as we get into the conversation. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, all the regular places. Make sure you're subscribed. And also, if you're enjoying the show, drop a 5-star rating. That would be awesome. You could also follow me on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. Also, I got to tell you that even though there was probably a pre-roll ad at the beginning, I got to tell you anyway, we've got a live show coming up this week, guys. We are doing The Blackening over at Maya Cinemas. It's Thursday, June 15th here in Las Vegas, 7 p.m. We'll be showing The Blackening and then doing a live podcast right there in the theater with Miss Michelle, Mikey VIP, and Marlon Money Stevens. It's going to be a great show. Really looking forward to this movie. It's going to be really fun, I hope. And we'll have a great time talking about it. So I hope to see some of you out there. I think the contest may have closed already, but check the website. There may be still a chance to win tickets. If not, tickets are available for sale, and I hope to see you there. And we've got more live shows on the way. So check the show notes, info about all that stuff and more. So with that said, let's talk about Renfield. All right, we're going to talk about Renfield today, which is just such a ridiculous movie. I think we're going to have a good time talking about this one. And I've got two great guests with me today, Tara Giancaspro and Matt O'Connell. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Indeed.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about doing this one for a while now. And this is one of those movies where, like, as soon as like the trailer was out and everything, I mean, who doesn't love Nic Cage? But like, it really could have gone either way, like really bad or really, really fun. And I don't know about you guys. I'm not sure where you land on it, but I'm like right in the middle, basically. It's kind of bad, but really fun.
I think we had a better experience with it when I saw the initial photos of Nic Cage walking around set looking like a fucking ghoul. I was like, oh, no, this is going to be a top movie of the year. I decided that, and I willed it into action. And then when I learned that my good bitch Nicolas Hoult was in it, I was like, well, I'm loving this movie no matter what. I may have to fight someone who says it's bad but not enjoyable. See, I'm guessing that you're like, it was fun. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it was like fun.
Yeah.
I love Nick Hoult. To death. Like, everyone at home, please watch The Great, starring Elle Fanning and Nicolas Hoult. He's magnificent in it. The man should only be doing comedy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I decided I was gonna love it, and I did.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of fun with it, and I should say, like, I got to see it at a press screening, and sometimes the audiences at those things, because they fill in all the rest of the seats with just like movie fans that are there for a free movie, and so sometimes they're a little extra rowdy. But everyone was going batshit during this movie, and we're recording this after opening weekend.
What other kind of shit would you be?
Yeah, exactly, for this kind of movie. But we're recording this after opening weekend, and unfortunately, it's not doing so well at the box office. But I was so sure this was going to be a huge hit after seeing it with that crowd, because they were just going nuts and having so much fun. And maybe this is going to have legs, and we'll see. Like, maybe word of mouth will be good on it, because people were having such a blast.
Does it have legs, or does it have fangs?
Fangs and wings and
Vampires do have legs.
Usually, they also have fangs.
Yes. Fangs always, legs usually with vampires.
often, but I feel like that's more ableist, possibly. Maybe they don't. So they all are supposed to have fangs.
Mhm.
They can
Yeah,
grow both the legs and the fangs back once they lose said
If a
fangs,
vamp-
or
depending on the lore.
if a
sure,
vampire did not have fangs, would that vampire not be?
it would be like a zombie.
He would
Well,
need
zombies.
he would need to have like long nails to like impale someone's skin, and you know how I feel about long nails. I don't like that.
Before we get into puzzle
Yeah.
pieces on Renfield, it is both of you guys' first time on the show, and I always have my guests introduce themselves to my listeners. So let's go with you first, Tara. Tell people about you and your music and what you do.
Sure. I'm Tara. I'm from New Jersey, if you couldn't tell by my voice and my, loud theatrical presence. I live far too close to Broadway, and yet not far enough to justify, I guess, being this annoying. But I am a full-time corporate stooge and a part-time musician and writer. My band name is Sweaty Lamarr, which, of course, is a spin on Hedy Lamarr for you cinephiles out there. Yeah, and I'm really just beyond being a musician or an artist myself. I am just someone who loves pop culture. My entire social media platform is just dedicated to screaming about movies and shows that I love or hate or can't figure out if I love or hate.
Yeah.
As you know, it's when you become an adult, you realize that you don't just like and hate things. You're like, oh, I don't know, and
Yeah.
I'm going to accept that.
Yeah, I need to
Um,
go on a podcast and talk about them because
Yeah,
I need
for
to figure this out.
3 hours of, putting the pieces together of whether I
That's
liked
right.
it or not.
Yeah.
Let's see. I feel like I should give you some favorite movies just in general.
Sure.
My favorite movie is Sleeping with Other People, the great Leslie Headland production.
All right.
I am a Back to the Future fan. My whole apartment, like our whole kitchen, is all Back to the Future stuff. Philadelphia Story. I think the greatest movie ever made is Network.
Okay.
I just
Sure.
saw Patty Chayefsky's portrait in Sardi's in New York, and I geeked out. And my friend was like, "I don't know this man." I was like, "That's Patty Chayefsky, though." And she's like, "Yeah, but I don't know him." Like the very Kiki Palmer, like, "Sorry to this man."
Mhm.
Yeah, but then again, I also lost my mind at the Dylan Baker caricature in Sardi's, so that's that's what I'm into. Like,
Nice.
niche character actor, niche scribe of
Yeah.
70s,
W-
gritty dramas. Okay.
Would you like to do?
So, all right. So we have this thing where Matt is a world famous impressionist, and he does impressions of me, because I asked him to. It's not because
Sure.
he does it. It's because I'm like, I want the impression. Go.
Yeah.
And Matt does my little Tara voice. But then one of the other things he does is ruthlessly, as if he doesn't do it himself, make fun of my my penchant for loving niche character actors.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I have to tell you that were we watching Robin Hood? Or he was talking about 40s movies in your sort of MGM, Robin Hood, Olivia de Havilland, Errol Flynn era. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And then, Eugene Pallette. And I'm like, my brother in Christ, who the fuck is Eugene Pallette? And he's like, you don't know Eugene Pallette? And I'm like, no, who knows Eugene Pallette? Eugene Pallette's mother doesn't know Eugene
No,
Pallette.
yeah.
She's fucking dead. Nobody knows Eugene Pallette. So, as if he has any room to talk about me getting really excited if, like, Renee Auberginois shows up on an episode of Columbo. Like,
Mhm.
I'm allowed to have my things, but this man has taken it way too far. So, do you want to do the Dylan Baker impression?
This is
an impression of me, apparently.
Okay.
this is Tara watching a premium cable drama when a particular character actor shows up on screen unexpectedly. Is that Dylan Baker? Yes, bitch.
I do the snaps. That's true.
You have to do the snaps. I mean, what
It's-
else? Come
Yeah.
on.
Didn't I just get geeked out about someone, like, I feel like I got geeked out about someone like a day ago. But
Probably.
it's like it's someone random, like Michaela Watkins. It's never like, oh, like, great, like Bruce Willis is in this.
I'd be
No.
excited about that.
It's-
Why not?
Yeah, Trophy Wife should not have been canceled, and that should be stated for the record. Like, Bradley Whitford's been busy, but
Mhm.
bring Trophy Wife back at the same time. Thank you.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Both of us have a sort of deep and abiding love for character actors. For me, it's M. Emmett Walsh.
Oh, every time.
Yeah.
Deep
I have
cut for
total
M.
face
Emmett Walsh.
I have complete face blindness to this man. Again, to quote Kiki Palmer, which is a phrase we say in this house constantly. You know, he could be walking down the street and I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man. But I can never look at M. Emmett Walsh and be like, oh, that's him. I have to ask Matt every time, is that him? And Matt's like, yes.
The catalog of great character roles of M. Emmett Walsh.
He's the one in The Jerk who hates the cans.
Yes. He hates these cans.
And yet
Stay away from the cans.
And yet I can't picture his face.
It's a memorable face, though. I mean,
he's also the doctor in Fletch. He's the diving coach in Back to School.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
he's the security guard in Knives Out.
Wait, the old Fletch.
Yes.
Did you watch the old Fletch?
No, I just know of it through my interest in Emmett Walsh.
I was going to fight this man live on your podcast
if I didn't tell
he watched the old Fletch without me, because
we're also the only two people who liked.
We are.
I loved Confess Fletch.
We are the fucking Fletch heads of the century. I keep calling him Tommy Mottola. I talked to Craig Mottola on Twitter about this, and I was like, are we doing the sequel? And he was like, listen, I am working on it. And I was like,
I'm trying to get John Hamm to spend $20,000 more of his own dollars to make the sequel happen.
Yeah. But what I wanted and what he responded favorably to was, can we do a Knives Out Fletch crossover? Because you know Rian Johnson would throw him a bone and do this.
Oh, yeah. He'd be all in. 100%.
Oh, no. Come on. Come on. So Matt and I are the two people who are lined the fuck up first in line to see Fletch 2.
I read
More Knives, More Out.
I read every Fletch novel after seeing Confess Fletch.
And the spin-offs.
And yes. And the Flynns, yes.
All 15 books.
That's way deeper than I would have gotten, but I did love that movie.
I am neck deep in Fletch.
Wow. Well, before we get back on track to Renfield, Matt, you got to introduce yourself a little bit too.
Yes.
Okay, so
go ahead.
I'm Matt, aka the Big Beef Buff Boyardee.
No.
Listen, we're in the podcast world. I don't want to.
Once the mic is turned on, you got to say it. So
I am one of the hosts of the pro wrestling podcast. Tag me in, brother.
Formerly known as I Hate Wrestling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In which I would try to convince people that they actually liked wrestling.
Oh.
And more often than not, I was successful, or at least I was successful in convincing people that pro wrestling is such a wide and varied thing and genre unto itself that somewhere, at some point, someone has done something that you would like.
Yeah, of course.
It's like saying I don't like music.
Right.
It's such a thing of its own, and people have such a conception of it as this one thing, and it is many things.
Yeah,
actually.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So he's big wrestling guy, big Universal Monsters guy, which is why I wanted Matt to join us for this.
Godzilla guy, big time Godzilla guy, big time Ray Harryhausen stop motion.
Oh, for sure.
My interests are wide and extremely deep. And very particular.
And very obscure.
And pretty obscure, yeah.
This man is, what would commonly be known as a Falk face. Big fan of Peter Falk.
Sure.
Falk face?
I just came up with it. Let it roll.
Are you trying to say my eyes, cockeyed?
Probably the biggest fan club in the world. I mean, who
a
isn't?
Fuck face,
I get
but
it.
I'm coming up with a name for him. Not everyone can just be like Rihanna's Navy. Sometimes you gotta just test a fan name.
Rihanna's Navy.
Rihanna's fans are.
Do we have a name for Nicolas Hoult fans?
It's fucking Hoult Hive.
I was going to say Hoult Hive.
Okay, yeah,
it has to
that
be.
works.
Like Matt and I are.
Oh! Nick Arcade.
I want you to leave. I have made a grave.
She just kicked you off the pod. I watched it.
Inviting this sweet man.
I think Nick Arcade is good.
No, I don't like it.
What I like about Nick Arcade is that it's a reference to the Nickelodeon kids game show Nick Arcade.
Great. I love that for your old ass. What I was going to
say, Nick
Arcade
was on the air when you were watching Nickelodeon. Don't cast aspersions.
I'm ancient. I was born in 91. It is what it is. What I was going to say is Hoult Hive is great because not only am I a proud member of the Hoult Hive, but I am a proud member member of the Hong Hive. And you're like,
No.
Hong who?
Hold on.
Excuse me. No, excuse me, because this man loves James Hong.
Yes.
I will routinely find a movie that James Hong is in, put it on, not tell him anything. I'm just like, oh, like, I want to watch this movie tonight. And then James Hong shows up and he's like, is that my man Jimmy Hong? And I'm like, yes, it is.
I will often have a premonition that James Hong is in a movie.
He's correctly guessed a couple times. I'll be like, someone you love is in this movie. And
I'm like, is it James Hong?
You know, it's like that video of Kristen Bell when she realizes that
There's
the
a sloth
is going to
nearby,
be at her
yes.
birthday party. And she's like, sloth is near. The sloth is here. That's Matt with James Hong.
It's a Spidey sense.
I did music for a movie with James Hong in it. It's called Better Criminal. It's like a direct-to-video.
Oh my God, we got to find it. Who else is in it? Is there that
most
Matt
likely,
and I will both love?
Tom Sizemore's in it. Bai Ling, you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. This was this like a tax evasion thing?
Aren't most direct-to-video movies?
Well, I found that a lot of times when James Hong is in a movie, the rest of the cast and crew will show up to find James Hong already on set. And they
just
can't
like,
get him to leave.
Just
and
standing there?
And that's how they find out
working
in the movie.
Like Mannequins, star of the movie Mannequin.
You can't get it. If he's decided he's going to be in the movie, you can't convince him otherwise.
Would you ask him to leave the set?
I certainly would.
No.
Not at all.
Matt is James Hong Hive. I am Hong Chow Hive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
I thought you were trying to steal my.
No, I respect the great character actor James Hong. I was very excited when he showed up in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I loved his little bow tie with the googly eyes at the Oscars. So yeah, we are enthusiasts of these random people. I am most internet famous for designing a hat that it's just a cap and it says Carrie Coon deserved an Emmy for The Leftovers.
Nice.
Carrie Coon has seen the hat. I swear to God, I messaged her and I was like, have you seen the hat? She's like, I did. What the hell is this about? And I was like, here, you pick a charity and I will donate all the proceeds because I feel like I'm making money off your name. I don't feel like that's fair. And so she picked a literacy initiative in Chicago to donate to. But every so often I open, Twitter to find like 67 retweets. And it's because some fellow Twitter gay or like some 13-year-old girl in Missouri was like, oh my God, I love Carrie Coon. And the hat just gets bought and then perpetuated. So that's us. And that's probably the chief thing we have in common.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not Carrie Coon specific. I have no strong feelings about Carrie Coon.
Which is a problem, and we've gone to counseling about it. It's fine.
It happens. Everybody's got their things. You want to get to some puzzle pieces on Renfield?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm afraid you're going to choose ones that we have chosen because we did not.
You never know. I have like 6 or 7 things written down, and just in case, because we're just gonna do 3 each, and then this way we keep things a little bit rounded up here. But we'll see what happens. But let's start with you, Tara. What's your first puzzle piece here for Renfield?
My first puzzle piece is going to be a hot take. I think I'm gonna go with the hot take first.
Okay.
And it's a tie, and you're probably going to be mad at me because it's a tie. But these two movies are so close together in my heart. 9 to 5.
Okay.
And First Wives Club.
Okay. I got to hear about this because I just rewatched 9 to 5 last year for the first time in like 100 years, and like I want to hear how you feel these connect.
So 9 to 5 is sincerely important to me. I only watched it for the first time, I think, last year. And I'm an executive assistant by trade. That's my job. And as you can imagine, I've had everything from people, almost throwing coffee mugs at me to the upskirt bullshit of corporate America. And watching that movie actually really felt good. Because I only had the sense of like, they kill this man. Like my thought was they kill this man. That's what I had thought the premise was. But then you see that they're actually enacting change in this office environment.
Sure.
And it's incredible. Jane Fonda, the baddie of my heart and life. I worship her. Of course, had a movie with a, staunchly political message. But
stop the presses.
Something about this movie
what do you think the statement she was trying to make in 80 for Brady? What do you think? Was at the heart of that?
I really feel like
it's about landmines.
I feel like she was trying to put I can't with you. I feel like she was just trying to put in that one the message out there that, college is expensive
Mm.
and my third grandchild is going to college and I'm being
I haven't
expected to
seen it
pay for it.
yet.
That's
Yeah.
the message.
Okay.
I have not seen 80 for Brady because I am a Steelers girl, and
Mm.
so I really am not going to sit there and dedicate that time to the Patriots. Sorry
Sure.
to Patriots fans out there, but you guys have no shame and no ability to feel remorse, so it's fine. But yeah, as I was watching this, and what I did not expect was that it was going to be so much about empowerment and setting boundaries and
Sure.
actually healing from narcissistic abuse and
Yes.
toxic, symbiotic relationships. And I loved that because that is something I focus on a lot in my work. I have 200 pages written of a novel about this. This is like my life's message that I try to express through the art that I make,
Yeah.
navigating negative relationships and how you can find yourself and find your way out. So that was my favorite part about this movie,
Yeah.
that they're literally showing these books that I've checked out from the library. Like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that one. I know
Mm.
that trope. So as I was sitting and trying to think of my choices, I thought, I could just go supernatural and like whatever. That's
Yeah.
we all have picks that are supernatural, but I
Sure.
wanted to find something that fit with the concept of, the true meaning behind this movie.
Yeah.
And very often people call narcissists vampires or,
Mhm.
on What We Do in the Shadows, you have
Sure.
energy vampires. So
Yeah.
I wanted to focus on films like this. I would say First Wives Club almost feels like the better pick of those two. I just really couldn't decide.
Mm.
But yeah, navigating these negative relationships with humor, not making it, oh, I'm an abused housewife with the black eye and the pregnant belly, and my husband is coming home with a six pack. I really love seeing explorations of abusive or toxic relationships when they're done to showcase how insidious these relationships can be.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
this movie did that. Yes, the relationship between these two is funny. It's used for humor. They have banter back and forth. In a way, they have a weird chemistry and a long shared history that
Mm.
you don't see highlighted as often. And Nicolas Holt's character was given this backstory of having abandoned his I wouldn't necessarily say that he was just like, yep, I'm leaving. He was, kind of glamored into
Sure. Sure.
becoming this, servant, but he has this backstory, which is something he uses to reinforce shame in himself, to reinforce regret, and to reinforce a sense that he's not a good person,
Right.
which then allows him to be kept in a prison of abuse by another
It's a
person.
cycle that is like so
Yeah.
easy to exploit. And, I didn't put this on my list of puzzle pieces because I figured it would just come up in the conversation anyway. But talking about Nicolas Cage's own work with Vampire's Kiss, also being a great exploration of that's also very funny and also just as insidious. And also he's a vampire. So,
Yeah.
you include
I
that
thought
too.
it was I think you too. It was like, like, is it gonna be too on the nose? Like, I wanted to impress you.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, so I did not realize that this was going to be such an aspect of this film and
Mhm.
really what it's about. I didn't realize it was going to be almost moralistic, not in a bad way, but in that it played like something that had a moral that we're all supposed to kind of sit and watch and come away with and think
Yeah.
about, maybe pick up a new buzzword or two.
Right. Well, it's a perfect time for a movie like this to come around.
Yeah.
As weird and out there as it is, it is very much a part of the conversation right now, and so it's kind of just perfect timing for that. But
Yeah.
Matt, what do you have for your first piece?
Well, I will say this. I was not afraid to go too on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
So my first pick is the 1931 Dracula,
Perfect.
which I mean,
It
it's such
has to be
it's
included.
such an
Yeah.
obvious pick, but it's also, as far as I'm concerned, it's the primary text for pretty much all 20th century vampire fiction.
Yeah.
And there's stuff that precedes it. There's Nosferatu. There's like a Hungarian movie called Dracula's Death,
Mm.
which is like not even really about Dracula. It's a whole other thing. But the 1931 Dracula is such the origin of all of the tropes that we understand culturally as Dracula, as the shorthand for Dracula. And not only does this movie depend on its audience knowing those tropes and in fact having internalized those tropes
Sure.
so intensely that we don't even need to go over them, but it also takes the pains to do direct references to specific shots from the original Dracula. They went through the to the extent of recreating the set of the original Castle Dracula.
Yeah.
Or I think they might have, they definitely imposed him in footage
They may have also done
from
that.
the movie, right? Like the theater scene, it looked like he had been imposed in existing.
Yeah, I think it's like a mix of the two approaches to try to like create something that just works really well. But I think they're doing a little of both in there.
And they did the lighting of
Yes,
the
the
eyes.
the iconic pencil lights on the eyes, but we have the whole costuming of Nicolas Hoult in until he has his sort of break with the role that he's been in.
He enters his hot girl era, starts wearing less and going out more.
So in his previous to his hot girl summer, he's wearing the wardrobe of Dwight Frye in the original drag. It's like the hair, the must hair, the old-timey suit. It's like 1-to-1. And Nic Cage is in the Bela Lugosi Dracula suit, down to the amulet, down to everything, and they're recreating all those aspects of it. And then there's more subtle stuff, like at the end, after the credits roll, they show Renfield in the font from the original Dracula poster.
Sure, yeah.
And the deepest cut that I thought was there's a little part where toward the beginning of the movie, Renfield chuckles to himself, and it's like a ha 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 ha, and it's the same exact cadence as this shot of Dwight Frye in the original one, where he's the only survivor of the shipwreck that brings Dracula to England, and he's sort of at the foot of these stairs, and they open up the hatch, and he's just wide-eyed. He's like, and he does that laugh a number of times throughout the movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
to my chagrin,
a lot of that, the manic aspects of that character, this movie kind of immediately, it takes so much from the original Dracula, but one thing it doesn't is really its portrayal of Renfield, because they take such a softer approach to Renfield, who, as far as I know, was not really a major character in the Dracula mythos until Dracula 31. And he becomes probably the highlight of that movie, he and Lugosi, of course, but certainly the most dynamic and one of the most memorable sort of second bananas in horror fiction.
Yeah.
And to see them sort of harken back to all of that, but then have Nicolas Hoult play it so sort of demure and understated,
right,
is interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I think, like, for anyone who didn't like this movie, you can't say the attention to detail isn't there. Like you were saying, with all of those callbacks, and like it is, the director Chris McKay has said, like, this is essentially a sequel to Dracula. Like it's like a straight up sequel, and like, as ridiculous as that sounds, like it kind of is in a way. It's just if it went in a very ridiculous, silly direction. But I'm gonna. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to jump right on top of your Dracula and go with, you're just talking about the portrayal of Renfield. I'm going to go with my favorite Renfield for my first puzzle piece, and that is Mel Brooks' Dracula Dead and Loving It, and Peter McKay.
I got you.
Stolen mine.
He is the best. He's so funny and so like, he starts at that level of manic and like goes up from there, and is just so hilarious. And they obviously are trying to make Renfield into a hero here. Like that's kind of the whole story. And so he kind of has to be grounded a little bit. And so he's not taking that cue from the Peter McNichol portrayal of Renfield, but still, mixing all that Dracula mythos with very, very silly slapsticky humor and, the kind of jokes a minute that, a Mel Brooks movie would have. I love Dracula Dead and Loving It. I know it doesn't have the best reputation, but I think it's the best.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I am. I don't know what Amy Yazbek's fans are called. Yazbekians. I
Sure.
have Yaz bitches.
Ooh,
Oh
nice.
my god. I have cosplayed Ms. Yazbek from Men in Tights, like to the point where I went outside voluntarily wearing like silver spray painted chastity belt underwear.
Amazing.
So yeah, we love all Amy Yazbek vehicles in this home.
I would say
Nice.
we're also something of webheads.
I think
Steven Weber
I
fans.
think you're
Sure.
more than I am. Our beautiful son Lugosi, a large tuxedo cat, as you might imagine, got up and walked away in disgust at
Webheads.
webheads. This man said, no, we're not doing this.
I'm out. No
Yeah.
more.
And yes, obviously, Lugosi is named after Bela Lugosi.
Sure. Absolutely.
Just to clarify,
Can I?
it's not, Frank Lugosi from Duluth, inventor of
Yeah.
I don't know, Cheez-Its, whatever.
This is maybe an odd interjection, but
Great.
But we're talking about Lugosi, who, if we talk about Dracula 31, is the primary text for Dracula fiction.
Yes.
Lugosi is still the Dracula. The Count from Sesame Street is Bela Lugosi, right? It's the Ur cultural Dracula. So I was very surprised to see that Nic Cage did not go whole hog on a Bela Lugosi accent.
He only dropped half a hog.
Yes.
I want to ask you about this when you get to your next pick. I do want to ask you about the voice and the choice of the voice.
The choice of the voice?
The choice of the voice.
The voice choice.
Yeah, I do want to ask
you. You gotta have the voice choice, Jerry!
I was gonna, I was going to ask you to do this, in depth and break it down when you had your next movie.
My next, which has nothing to do with Bela Lugosi.
No, I know, but I just want to get it from you at some point.
Okay.
Can we please talk about Dracula Dead and Loving It? Because this was also my choice.
Yeah, as much as you want, because it's the best movie. It's so funny.
The great, the wonderful Leslie Nielsen absolutely crushes a Bela Lugosi impression.
Oh yeah,
in that movie,
he's so good.
But yeah, no, Leslie Nielsen. I mean, great in anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Would you even say it's the best Leslie Nielsen?
That's hard to say. I mean,
it's hard to say.
It's you don't. I mean, anything post Fantastic Planet. No, not Fantastic Planet. No,
that would be a wild.
Forbidden Planet is what I meant to say.
Forbidden Planet. Yeah.
Anything post Forbidden Planet is a great Leslie Nielsen role. Forbidden Planet is a sort of legendary sci-fi movie that is pretty much unwatchable. Hot take about Forbidden Planet.
You're gonna get 3 haters. In your
Send your hate mail to Matt.
Come at me because you can't tell me Forbidden Planet is anything. It's
They're
not
deep in the bag for that, but yeah, no, it's difficult. I mean, Naked Gun is it's
so
one of the greatest comedies of all time. Airplane, but
Leslie Nielsen Leslie Nielsen has been in some movies, some relative stinkers. Like, what was that one we saw that was like a knockoff of The Fugitive or a parody of The Fugitive?
Wrongfully Accused.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
okay. It was fun.
Of course, it's Leslie Nielsen.
I love Top Secret. Give me these dumb jokes, and I will spend a Saturday night just watching these dumb jokes happen.
Sure, but without Leslie Nielsen, the wheels completely fall off.
Well,
sure.
Or without Val Kilmer in the Top Secret.
Yeah, but it would have been better with Val Kilmer. I mean, Leslie Nielsen.
That's true. So, did you pick Dead and Loving It just because it's funny vampires, or was there another layer?
It was funny in vampires, and to shout out my favorite Renfield with Peter McNichol, because he's just so incredible.
It's like Dwight Fry's performance turned up to 11.
You're right, exactly, and he nails it. He absolutely nails it.
In the same way that Leslie Nielsen is really just taking what's already a pretty affected and slightly comical performance from Lugosi and turning it up a couple notches, it becomes a masterpiece of comedy. And the same thing happens with Peter McNichol, where he's taking something that, if it's not filmed in this very creepy way, could be overwrought and very funny. And they kind of do it with the lights on, and it becomes a very broad comedy.
Absolutely. Well, Tara, let's go to your next piece.
Sure. So I am going to drop in my fourth pick
Mm,
because you stole my second pick.
son
Um,
of.
watching this movie, it definitely did not visually look like the comedies that I was thinking of. But I kept thinking of while watching this movies like Keanu, the Key and Peele movie,
I never
and
actually
that
saw that.
it's not memorable.
Mm,
I literally remember going to the theater to watch it. I remember there being a cat. I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
nothing else about this movie. I can't tell you a single other person who's in the movie. Like
sure.
probably Chelsea Peretti is there. Like I
Seems
can't
about
tell you
right. Yeah,
I
anything
bet
about
James
it.
Hong is in it.
could be.
He's the cat,
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to think of one because something I wanted to bring to the table here was the essence of a buddy movie. I had
Mhm.
assumed that there would be more of a buddy relationship between Dracula and Renfield, and there really was not in this movie. They
No.
were not together a lot. Very smartly, I thought that Nic Cage was not used too much in this movie. It's like when you
Mm,
watch Beetlejuice, like
Mhm.
he's really not in much of the movie. And that's for the best. You're not getting tired of the character. He comes in, does a punch, walks out. Um, but I wanted to find one that maybe dissected the Awkwafina Nicolas Hoult relationship and then the relationship between the people in the codependent group, which by the
sure.
way, I love hearing codependent talk in a movie and because I can't think of other movies that use the word codependent.
Right.
Uh, and I said this recently, it almost seems harder to come out as a codependent or to identify yourself as one than it does to say like, "Oh, I maybe do a little too much coke." Like, not in a way where someone's genuinely saying like, "I have an addiction, I need to go to rehab." But if they're like, "Yeah, I should probably ease back on the coke," or like, "I should ease back on the ponies."
Mm,
Um, it's because people don't understand what codependency is.
sure.
And
Sure.
so I actually really liked that someone like, there's a final climactic line of, "I'm a codependent," and I was like, "That's really cool," and I appreciate that, and that is why my 4th pick, that is now my 2nd pick,
Mm.
is 21 Jump Street.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
The the iconic Channing Tatum 21 Jump Street,
I was
which
actually thinking about this as well, by the way, because
yeah,
the tone of it really, like, even though this is
yeah,
much more in the horror and gore and splatter kind of comedy, like like all the rest of the comedy, they're just like really out there, over the top, buddy, shenanigans, so to speak.
yeah.
It's like it really feels like that kind of humor.
And there's an introspection and a really nice, comfortable character development path that's charted throughout the movie for kind of for everyone, not really Dracula, but Awkwafina gets to bond with her sister. And we see that in 21 Jump Street, where Channing Tatum's character, who assumes that he's going to be the cool guy going back to school, is actually the dork.
Right. Right.
Who has to find himself and does kind of embrace his nerddom. And then Jonah Hill, becomes popular, and these two are isolated. And while these things can seem tropic, and you're like, oh, okay, Channing Tatum thought he was going to be cool, now he's not. They do it in specific ways, and the
Mhm.
characters they brought in to reinforce these paths were really nice. I liked Awkwafina's character. I haven't enjoyed all of her roles. Sometimes I feel like it's a little like, oh, this feels cartoonish.
Yeah.
She was kind of playing this. I would say she was playing the straight woman here. Holt you would think would have been, but it's really her.
Yeah.
I like her path. They didn't go too maudlin with the dad or the sister. It just felt realistic. I liked the sisters having a relationship. Um, I thought it was funny. I thought that they used a cop in a way that did not feel irresponsible. Like they
Mhm.
didn't show with her character excessive force. They didn't, have her betray some like it was pretty good representation for cops, but then also I didn't think it was propaganda.
Right. Sure. It
This is a woman
toes
of
the
color
line.
working in a police force where everyone around her is kind of colluding against her.
Mhm.
But then interestingly enough, a lot of the people colluding against her are also people of color. It wasn't it felt real. That could be something that happens. You could just have people and they're of different, moralities,
Yeah.
and they're subscribing to different beliefs of what cops should and can get away with.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that, and I thought the same thing about 21 Jump Street. Like, that movie is not propaganda. No one is going to go out and be a cop because of 21 Jump Street. No one is going to say, oh, hashtag not all cops because they like Jonah Hill in that movie. Like, or they like
except like Kanye?
Yeah, except Kanye.
Like,
yeah,
literally.
we're not. No, it wasn't copy. That was Jew-aganda.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That was like Hamantashenaganda. Like it was
That didn't
too
work.
much. You know what? You didn't work. How about that?
Wow.
So yeah, I appreciated that. Yeah, no one really signed up to take like the police force test because they saw what's her name, Ray say like finger pop in each other's assholes. Like, so which is to this day something that I say more often than you would think it would be reasonable to put in conversation.
Yeah,
But I very often do wind up having occasions to use it.
That's a deep cut for sure. But
it's not a deep cut in my life,
That's
in my
true.
vernacular, David.
It's right under the
Absolutely.
surface.
It's
Joe's always lurking there.
I'm
It's
thinking
always
about it
there.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
that movie, to some extent, the sequel, because again, while it does have the divide of the characters, there are more nefarious forces at play in the sequel.
Mhm.
But those two movies, which I will watch back to back any day of the week, and will consider one perfect piece of cinema. Please give
Yeah.
us
There you go.
23 Jump Street. I'm begging you, producers.
One of these
Along with
days.
Fletch too. My wish list is unfortunately mostly sequels. We're all like, I want original content. My wish list is mostly like Josie and the Pussycats too.
Oh, I mean, come on.
These are my
Yeah.
sequels of choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that
Wow.
would be one for me. And then
Right
before
on.
you,
Uh-huh.
my love.
Yeah.
I would love to hear about the voice choice, because you being a studier, not a student, a studier, because you've already graduated.
Oh,
You're now
okay.
just studying. So
Okay.
you are the studier.
Continuing education.
Yes.
So
Okay.
share that knowledge here.
What do you
on
think
this
Nic
podcast.
Cage was trying to do? Did he succeed?
He was trying to not do Bela Lugosi because everyone can do it. It's become.
I can't.
Sure, can you do the count? If you can do the count, you can do Bela Lugosi.
One bad impression.
There you go. So I think he realized that it's such an iconic and legendary thing.
Iconic?
Yes. That his instinct must have been, if I'm going to put my own spin on this, I can't do the voice.
Was he putting his own spin on it though? In any way?
I think he was putting a spin on it by not putting a spin on it in a way, just sort of trying to do his own thing, kind of playing it smaller than you would expect, because when you hear Nicolas Cage is Dracula, you're like, shit, I gotta see that.
David, was that an issue for you that took away your appreciation for the movie, or took some appreciation for you?
It enhanced it for me, because I was on board for Nic Cage as Dracula, no matter what the version of that was going to end up being. Like,
So
I wanted to see it.
You didn't want more Nic Cage.
He didn't need to yell or have like this one-liner that goes in the next Nicolas Cage losing his shit compilation on YouTube. Like, that didn't need to happen. I just wanted to see Nic Cage finally get to straight up be Dracula, and that's what we got. I mean, like you were saying, he kind of underplays it a little bit. Like, he's still Nic Cage, but he does underplay it a little bit. It's not as crazy as you might expect, and I think he was great.
I think Nicolas Cage is an interesting comparison to Bela Lugosi, because Nicolas Cage really is a character actor at heart who's been placed in the role of a movie star multiple times. But
it's the Brad Pitt thing, except Nic Cage is a good person from what we've been sold.
But he's got
I love Nic Cage.
It's the thing where, well, this is a guy who does a specific weird thing. That's the draw. We're going to put him doing his specific weird thing.
One specific weird thing? It's like 27 specific weird things.
But it's all
and we love them all. We love every one of them.
But it's all in the same package. It's all in the Nicolas Cage package and delivery. You know, it's like, you know what he's going to do. You know how he's going to say it, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's the Samuel L. Jackson in Snakes on a Plane thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're going to see this movie because we want Samuel L. Jackson to say the thing about the snakes on the plane.
Yeah.
And the producers realized, fuck, we have to do reshoots and get him to say the thing because we forgot to get him to say the thing. It wasn't actually in the script, right?
Is that true?
Yeah, that wasn't in the script.
Holy shit.
But everyone...
It's the only reason I went to see that movie. I saw it in
me too.
theaters.
And everyone
me
else.
too.
Oh my God.
Completely unremarkable movie.
Yeah, Juliana Margulies is in it. Like, you're just like, okay.
Yeah, so...
All right.
But Nicolas Cage, Bela Lugosi is a guy who got typecast and did not get to be a leading man. He was in Poverty Row stuff for most of his career.
Sure. Yeah.
Dracula 31 is his biggest role. He did great stuff.
It's anyone's biggest role.
Yeah.
It would have been anybody's biggest role.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you compare him to Boris Karloff, who obviously Frankenstein is his big role, but then he gets, you know, a number of career revivals and a lot of critically acclaimed performances, and Lugosi just didn't get those same chances.
Remind me, which one did Luton movies?
Both, but mostly Karloff. Karloff got to star in them. Lugosi got to do.
I was
bit
thinking
parts.
Karloff. Our small beautiful cat daughter Simone is named after Simone from Cat People. So
Okay.
we're very into Luton over here.
But
All right.
Nicolas Cage is a character actor who got to be, you know, to star in blockbusters that Bela Lugosi didn't necessarily get to do. But
Bela Lugosi in Moonstruck.
Right.
Hmm.
But Bela Lugosi in Leaving Las Vegas. You know what I mean? Raising.
Thank you, David. Matt was like, nope, I'm not acknowledging this shit.
I haven't seen Moonstruck, so I don't know what you're talking about.
That's a you problem. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Raising Arizona from the Dead. Like these are our films.
Yeah, I got it now.
But they're of the same species as a Christopher Walken, right? They're just like a creature. We're going to capture it on film. There's a specific vocal delivery. There's a specific quality to this performance that's not really going to change role to role. These are not chameleons. These are not Daniels Day-Lewis. These are these are creatures of habit.
Joe Pesci.
Right.
Joe Pesci is Dracula. Now,
we should be so lucky.
As an Italo-American, an Italian Dracula does not work. We are too much a people of garlic. We are
Frank Langella, bad Dracula.
We are informed by garlic. We are of garlic. Garlic is essential to us. It would not work. But I want you all to picture Joe Pesci right now as Dracula. Tell me.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
I'm not sure if that's Joe Pesci, but I loved it though.
His Joe Pesci is good. His vampire Joe Pesci might be, but his usual Joe Pesci is good. It gets, walked around the house quite a bit.
Well, let's go to Matt's next puzzle piece.
Okay, so mine is sort of on the same wavelength as yours. My thought was Pineapple Express, which is also an absurdist buddy comedy involving extensive police corruption.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But they also, there's a number of like wacky chase scenes, and there are they sort of blend Looney Tunes physics with realistic consequences of violence.
Sure.
Because there's some stuff that's just like wacky cartoon physics, but then sometimes people get very seriously hurt. Danny McBride almost dies in that movie.
Yeah, I forgot that movie has not really impacted my soul. So that was definitely a him choice.
But yeah, that was my thought, and I was thinking it specifically when the police are we found out that the police are against them and chasing them down, and in Pineapple Express we have Rosie Perez as the corrupt police officer. Yeah. So our sort of heroes have nowhere to turn
Right.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that both the drug dealers and the police are sort of both out to get them.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's true.
So in this they have to deal with it's a tri-pronged attack really, because you have to deal with corrupt police, you have to deal with a organized crime.
Mhm.
I know I said that twice. Police and organized crime. And then political Jane Fonda.
Yes,
And then
Tri-prong.
yeah, and then the third prong, of course, is Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
The reason I was just spacing out there is because I was trying to think of a joke I could make, and I'm going to share this with you because it's a failure and I take great shame in it. I was trying to make a joke about Rico, like the syndicate, Rico, Suave, and I couldn't do it in time.
There's also Rico Bandello is the name of
I don't know her.
a character from Little Caesar. Edward G. Robinson.
I don't.
Mother of mercy, is this the end of Rico?
Girl,
No?
Edward G. Robinson is someone I have face blindness with because, like, it's
How could you?
it's
the most distinctive face.
But then there's the other guy.
What other guy?
I tell you this every time one of those two. What McMurray?
Fred McMurray?
Yes, I confuse them all the time.
Wow, double indemnity must have been really confusing for you.
Edward G. Robinson is the guy who's like Armenian in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like the shorter
Hungarian,
one with
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry to the Hungarian and Armenian.
Fred McMurray is the big waspy motherfucker who looks like Captain Marvel.
I confuse them. Everybody has people Everybody has people
Captain
they
Marvel, not Brie Larson.
Everybody has people they confuse. There are people out there who confuse Ned Beatty and Warren Beatty, and I'm like,
okay,
you're stupid bitches. But there are people who confuse them, and
don't try to Bill Paxton, Bill Pullman me on this.
I choose to give them grace.
This is one of those situations.
Bill Paxton, Bill Pullman.
No,
Did I say it for the Philistines in the back? No. I said Warren and Ned Beatty.
Some people confuse Dylan McDermott and
Dermot Mulroney.
Yeah, but neither one of them is Edward G. Robinson.
They need to go back to school. They need to read a book because they're dumb bitches. Dermot Mulroney, famous New Girl guest star.
You know who was in Back to School?
You know who wasn't on New Girl? Dylan fucking Dermot. Who is that?
You know who was in Back to School?
Who?
Emmett Walsh.
There you go. Brought it all the way around there. I'm going to go with one more buddy cop movie. You guys, but it's weird that we had these buddy movies all in a row here. I wasn't expecting that, but this one's got more of a supernatural element. It's from 1988. It's called Dead Heat. Have either of you seen this movie?
Who's in it? That sounds familiar.
Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams.
I have to ask now. I've heard of movies with casts that to me don't make sense.
Yeah.
How the fuck did anyone put $1 towards a Treat Williams, Joe Piscopo? We watched a movie with Jay Leno and Pat Morita.
I've seen that.
It's a buddy cop movie. I can understand them giving $3 to Jay Leno and $7,500 to Pat Morita. Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo.
Well, wait to hear what this is about. Okay.
I'm
so
afraid.
They're cops, and Treat Williams gets bit by a zombie and starts becoming a zombie. But he's not a zombie yet, so he's going to continue on the case with Joe Piscopo to solve this big crime thing that's going on. Which, by the way, the crime syndicate run by Vincent Price. And so he's becoming a zombie as they're going after these crime syndicate people and trying to solve this.
Vincent Price.
Yeah, there we go. That was good. It's insane. It's completely insane. And there's a lot of parallels you can make with this. It was like the first thing I thought of after leaving the theater, because like Treat Williams obviously becoming a zombie as he's a cop, you can kind of draw a line to Renfield being a hero, but he's like this supernatural, creature thing at this point in the story. And Joe Piscopo, loudmouth, being, ridiculous and over the top, you can totally compare with how Awkwafina's character is. So, I mean, they're in this, basically a crime story in the middle of all of it.
Is this Dead Heat movie like? To me, it tells me that this man's healthcare as a fucking cop is so bad that he is developing like skin that is peeling off his body. a thirst and hunger for human blood, my angel.
Brains.
And oh right, yeah. Well, maybe blood too.
Yeah, I
Is
think they like
blood
blood.
condiments for them? We never really ask ourselves
It's a
if
sauce.
if blood
Yeah.
is like, to quote Fletch, the thing that kills us every time. Sauce. John Hamm saying the word sauce just
Yeah.
knocks us.
he swam into a boat propeller. It turned him into a sauce.
We think about sauce again too often.
Yeah.
But this Dead Heat movie really, to me, sounds, and this is not something that is discussed in Renfield, but it seems like a crude yet effective commentary on the state of how civil service workers
Yes.
were paid, compensated, and cared for in the 80s. And see, that's what I want. I want more of that return.
Okay,
You know,
Jane Fonda.
we talked about propaganda, and there's so much propaganda out there, but what about anti-cop propaganda where they say, you know what, the benefits are really not that great? Like, think about Lethal Weapon. That man almost dies on the toilet. He is trying to drop a deuce on a Tuesday, and there is a bomb underneath that man's toilet. That is what we should be telling people, so then they don't want to be cops.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
need to get back to
So the
bomb
Lethal Weapon
toilets.
movies definitely make it not cool to be a cop.
Yeah, see, yeah, I mean, I recognize that I'm doing a bit. Matt is not yes-ending me. Matt's no-butting me. No butts in those bomb-infested toilet seats.
No, yeah, I was
Because-
going to say no but is what would happen if your toilet
that
blew
man
up.
gets to come home to Darlene motherfucking Love, the god. Are we not? Neither one of you is like fangirling here over Darlene Love.
I mean, it's Darlene Love, but I
It's
mean,
Darlene motherfucking Love.
yeah, Darlene motherfucking Love, exactly.
You and I offline, I have a Darlene Love story for you. I
Mhm.
had an experience with Darlene Love that you might enjoy. So I need to watch this Dead Heat movie. I mean, do I
Yes.
really know, but will I? Yeah, and this one loves Vincent Price.
Yeah,
Loves Vincent Price.
absolutely.
Who hates Vincent Price?
I know Vincent Price is the best.
Your mom
I
probably
mean, come
hates
on.
Vincent Price.
My mom hates Vincent. Why does my mom hate Vincent Price?
I don't know. She hates Winnie the Pooh.
So let's.
Very different reasons.
I know, but this sort of beloved figure, who could hate it?
My
Your
mom
mother.
doesn't like that Winnie the Pooh wears a shirt but no pants. She finds it inappropriate and unprofessional.
I mean, it's kind of the life, isn't it? That's like
Yeah.
what we all want, really. But let's.
Listen, that's her. You can have her on the podcast and ask.
It might be our next guest. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
Let's
call her
wrap up Renfield with some closing thoughts. Do you guys
Yeah.
have any other things that we didn't get into that you really wanted to bring up real quick before we wrap it up?
I think on my list I had What We Do in the Shadows, which obviously I think this movie was able to be made because of What We Do in the Shadows. Like,
Sure.
it wasn't Twilight that paved the way for this one. Twilight paved the way for all of those shitty movies called like Cities of Doom,
Yeah.
Temples of Ambush, part 7, with like someone from a CW show and then like Skeet Ulrich, and you're just like, yeah, this is fine.
They all had Donald Sutherland for some reason.
Always Donald Sutherland beat up in those movies. Oh, I love Donald Sutherland.
Is he locked out of his house? Does he just need something to do?
But yeah, I would have included What We Do in the Shadows, more the TV show than the movie, because I think the movie, even the way the movie is staged, lit, the aesthetic of the movie is not as similar as the TV show is. The TV show deploys more color. It looks better, which I feel like is almost intentional. And then it's silly.
Yeah. And Guillermo is the emotional center of this show.
And like, I think honestly, the reason I know what a quote familiar is, like that term,
Yeah.
I think is actually because of What We Do in the Shadows. At the very least, that's what finally imprinted upon me. I know that, these characters, whether it's Igor, these supernatural characters have their assistants around, and Frankenstein, not Frankenstein's monster. I know the whole thing. But, I know that they have henchmen and assistants, but I think the term of familiar, if it wasn't something I was thinking of from Hocus Pocus with Thackeray Binks and the cat and the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. That works.
Guillermo being the familiar kind of just imprinted on me what the code of a familiar would be in terms of trope. So this movie, I was like, oh, I know what a familiar is. I can skip past this description of it.
Matt, how about you? Any closing thought? Any last word?
My other one was the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah.
It's because but that's just splat stick in general as a genre, but also the one cop, Kyle, who's like the comic relief cop, and everybody shut the fuck up, Kyle. His name tag said Raimi.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's great.
Yeah, I immediately clocked that.
Immediately slapped me. Was like, Raimi, it says Raimi, and I was like, oh shit, hey. As two people who have seen The Quick and the Dead,
yeah, that's so
we have a healthy respect for Raimi.
Oh yeah, I love him so much, and we got the new Evil Dead this weekend. I'm so excited, and even though Raimi's just producing, I just can't wait to see what happens with it.
I saw someone say, I guess someone who saw a press screening, anything Raimi touches is good. Like they were saying it about this movie. So they're like, the fact that he even put his name on it or wrote a check for it.
Touched Spider-Man 3 though, didn't he?
I guess that's true.
Yes, they are doing the Tobey Maguire. Listen, it gave us that.
Yeah. Well, I had Evil Dead on my list as well, and I also had Mortal Kombat on my list because there's a lot of Mortal Kombat in the way these guys fight with each other.
Oh yeah, the
X-ray move, I think they call it.
Move, yes.
Yeah.
I think that originally comes from a Sony
anime or something.
No, a Sony Chiba movie called The Street Fighter.
Oh, does it really?
I believe that's the first instance of the X-ray punch. Although in the Street Fighter, the guy's butthole doesn't get blown out by it.
Yeah, well, they did use it also in the Kingsman when they have that whole like colonoscopy kind of scene, which you know. Wait, so you were saying Evil Dead, David, 1 or 2? Because Matt was thinking 2.
Yeah, that's where I would go as well.
One's a straight comedy and one is a straight horror and two is a comedy.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, right on. I think that does it for Renfield. Guys, tell us where we can find you guys online and all your stuff.
Great. I'm at Sweaty Lamarr. That's Sweaty Lamarr, not Sweetie Lamarr. I get a lot of guys from like Yemen who are like, did you misspell Sweetie? And I'm like, no. And they're like, are you sweaty? That's gross. And I'm like, yes, that's sort of the point. So I'm at Sweaty Lamarr on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, though I try to never post on there because TikTok is my music is available on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, whatever Deezer is. Anything I've learned about Deezer is
I've never figured that out myself.
It lets you when you upload your music, it's like we're gonna put it on like Pandora and this one and Deezer, and I'm like every time I call it D's nuts. In full disrespect to Deezer because I don't know what the fuck they're doing and they've not done a good job at marketing themselves. So that's me. I shout a lot about Carrie Coon, my raw sexual attraction to Stanley Tucci. Being Italian, living in New Jersey, greatest state of all time, and that's me.
Right on, Matt. How about you?
So once again, one half of Tag Me In Brother, the pro wrestling podcast. Basically, we dive into sort of recurring tropes of pro wrestling and. Do kind of deep dives into lore and the sort of internal logic that are just sort of taken for granted, but never really discussed. Why are these the rules? Why is the referee doing this? Why is the referee's decision only final sometimes? Why does instant replay work sometimes but not other times? And just sort of break down the narrative of it.
Yeah, and if you go back in that catalog, Matt's I Hate Wrestling episodes are available, some of which feature his co-host on Tag Me In Brother, but I would do a special shout out for an episode where Matt and my good buddy Jason watch a Scooby-Doo WrestleMania mystery.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I jump
great.
in for like 20 minutes on that episode, and Matt and I have developed it like one of our favorite moments as a comedic relief duo that point where it's like emblazoned on our door in our house. But the Scooby-Doo episode is very fun. I highly recommend checking out Matt's old episodes as well. I think when you look up Tag Me In Brother, the I Hate Wrestling episodes are in there. But
I look forward to checking that out. That sounds really fun. Yeah. Well, right on, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully we can get you back again sometime.
Thank you.
There are far worse things awaiting men than death.
Welcome to the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
What up, what up?
Each week, we'll explore the classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a little comedic twist.
We will ask those important questions like, why don't they get out of the haunted house the first time they see the ghost or the demon?
Why do people feel like, hey, there's been a spooky disappearance, but I'm going to investigate myself, even though I have no investigative background?
Or, why didn't I realize I was dead the whole time?
These important questions and many others we will get to the bottom of. So check us out each week at the podcast that wouldn't die.
Be there or be square.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Renfield. Thanks to everybody out there for listening. If you're enjoying what we do here on Piecing It Together, make sure you're subscribed. And of course, if you really like the show, maybe drop a 5-star rating and review. That would help us get further up in those rankings. And that way more people will check the show out. And then we can keep doing bigger and better things like all these live shows we got going on. The upcoming one this week on The Blackening, Thursday, June 15th. It's going to be a fun time at Maya Cinemas. Check the show notes for how to get tickets. And we got one coming up on Oppenheimer next month, and then Strays the month after that. Let's keep doing these things. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun time. So also you could check out our Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And don't forget about our Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where for over a month now, you could have heard this episode. But also you can get lots of other early advanced episodes of Piecing It Together, bonus content from Awesome Movie Year, and bonus and advanced content from my music career. I'm actually about to release a special exclusive soundtrack album on the Patreon. So, hey, check it out if you want to support the show and me and all of my efforts in that way. It's patreon.com/bydavidrosen. I do appreciate your support. And for those who have been listening to the show, you know that I'm about to release a new album, a comedy album. This is a little break from all of my serious, dark, mysterious music that I've been putting out for all these years. This is a comedy album of songs about my pets called the Pup Pups. The pre-order launched a little over a week ago, and as of this recording, I have just sent it in to get CDs made, and the album should be out on July 1st. And I'm so excited about it. It's going to be a really fun thing. I'll probably have a special episode about it coming up here in a little bit. We also got some music videos on the way. And I'm going to close this episode out with a song from that album because it's a very ridiculous song. And there's a lot of splatting going on in Renfield. And this is a song called Slip and Splat about really, really hoping that my cat Millie doesn't slip off of the second story railing that she loves to hang out on and splat. So this is Slip and Splat from the Pup Pups album, Who Wants Din Din, which is available for pre-order now. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't die. Hope the cat don't fall from way up high. Hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. The cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat. I hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't die. Hope the cat don't fall from way up high. Hope the cat don't fall, hope the cat don't slip and splat.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, is there a dog here?
There's a dog barking at me.
Who is,
Hold on one
wait, who is
second.
this man?
His name is Harvey Weinstein, but that we don't talk about that though.
No, we need to talk about that shit.
Go on, Harvey. Let me just put him away real quick.
Oh my god. It's like, this is my goldfish and Miramax. Like, what are we doing here? Oh, do you think there's a way for me to make a Halloween costume that's Joe Pesci as a vampire? No, wait. Like, no, my cousin Vinny, like the burgundy, like the leisure suit.
With a cape.
With the little hair and the cape, fangs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then are you Mona Lisa that year? Wait,
Sorry
no,
about
you
that.
could be.
Fred
Okay,
Gwynn.
wait, no, you could be Mona Lisa Vito as the Bride of Frankenstein because she's got that white hair. She's got that white skunked hair piece.
Well, there's also Fred Gwynn, who is of course Herman Munster.
Yeah, but I don't know if you have
I could
Frankenstein with a judge robe, no one's gonna get that it's too hot. No one's gonna get that.
I need you to acknowledge that I would make a more convincing Fred Gwynn than Marissa Tomei.
Marissa Tomei would make a very convincing Fred Gwynn if she put her mind to it. That woman can do anything. She is my mother. I love her.
I might
Anyway,
have to keep all this for like an after the show blooper or something like that.
no, you should. It was actually
yeah.
very cute. So what's the deal with your dog
What's the deal?
being named Harvey Weinstein, and why have you not at this point changed it to either Miramax, Tarantino's Folly, or Harvey Firestein?
Yeah, well, we refer to him as Dad nowadays, but that's one of his
Dad?
nicknames. Yeah, that's one of his nicknames, and we've adopted that as his main name. But
Oh my god, because I call Simone Mommy Girl, our small cat. She's Mama and she's Mummy. So I love that they're like
Dad. It's Dad.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like Pedro Pascal and Sarah Paulson, like Mommy and Daddy. Like these are our cats. These are our pets, our children. Do you have other dogs? Is it one dog?
We have one dog and 3 cats. So
what are the cats' names?
We've got Millie. She's right here. And then we've got Trudy and Neo.
Is it a Matrix cat?
No, actually, she was already named that when I got her.
Okay.
Look, Millie.
That is a beautiful chicken. Look at the baby.
You go over there.